While the new iPad mini is positioned as a more inexpensive and portable alternative to the more powerful iPad Pro model, you shouldn't discount its capabilities. You never know, this device might be exactly what you need to kickstart a successful year. We received this device, and we weren't disappointed with the iPad mini 6 specs. We anticipate you won't be either after watching this video on our iPad mini 6 first impression. Number 8. A great display. Although the new iPad mini's display is extremely beautiful, it isn't Apple's best product.
Bummer.
The wide color range and the extremely dense pixels are its strongest features. Its major flaw is that it doesn't become quite bright enough. It's immediately clear that its display lacks the brightness of the iPad Pro. Fortunately, it is comparable to the iPad Air. Therefore, you won't notice a difference if you frequently use one of those. We won't criticize the iPad mini for lacking ProMotion. Apple is holding onto that as a pro feature for the time being on both the iPad and the iPhone. It's not a problem. iPadOS still runs quite smoothly. However, if you use an iPad Pro or one of the new iPhone 13 Pro models, you will notice it is missing. Number 7. The perfect size. The iPad mini 6 is the ideal size to start. You can tell it's smaller than the prior generation. Even though it's more difficult to use, while the Apple Pencil is glued to the side, you can comfortably handle it in one hand. Nonetheless, Apple has its reason for putting the Pencil on the side. According to their website, Apple Pencil attaches magnetically to the side of iPad mini, so it's always with you and ready for a spur-of-the-moment sketch or a spontaneous brainstorming session. When compared to an iPhone 13 Pro Max, the new iPad mini is not that much larger. This iPad mini is quite powerful. It runs iPadOS rather than iOS and shares the same A15 processor as the iPhone 13 Pro. The new iPad mini has the same physical sensation as an iPhone would have if it could open up like a book. Of course, you can also utilize apps in split view, slide across apps, draw text with Scribble, and other iPad mini 6 top features, like the center stage, which we believe is the top feature of the iPad mini 6, and we will tell you more about, so keep watching. Number 6. Hardware nips. The iPad mini's volume buttons are not a big problem. It does, however, make screenshotting a painstaking process.
Oh no.
The iPad Air and iPad Pro may be held with one hand, but this model requires two. The speakers are just fantastic. They have a lot of power, a considerable amount of bass, and a pleasant sound. The speakers sound great for a device of this size and weight. A step down in quality from the iPad Pro, but still an excellent tablet. Apple's 3 new iPad mini colors are all very eye-catching. Feel free to select your preference and consider subscribing to our channel to encourage us to continue providing you with news about Apple devices. Number 5. Performance. Using the same A15 Bionic processor as the iPhone 13 models, this tablet can switch between applications swiftly and easily. There hasn't been a single app crash on this device, which is unusual for us, as we've been using Apple products for years. For example, if you want to take advantage of 5G data streaming, you may insert a SIM card into this new chip and use it to record 4K video. 5G is the fastest mobile data connection currently available, allowing you to download an entire movie in a matter of seconds. Number 4. Center stage. In our opinion, the center stage feature on this tablet is one of the most useful. Apple introduced an ultra-wide front camera with a 122 degrees field of view to center stage. As a result, the selfie camera follows you through video chats on FaceTime and Zoom, as well as detects when someone else is nearby and intends to join the call. Like the iPhone 12, the iPad mini 6 can record in 4K, features Smart HDR3 support, and a 12MP main camera. Number 3. Design. On the new Mini, Apple moved a few buttons around. The primary home button on the screen has been removed, and the volume control is now located near the tablet's power on button on its top instead of on its side like on iPhones. Instead, the power button has a Touch ID fingerprint scanner integrated into it. Although we don't use a cover for it, The brushed metal rear of this model feels safe in our hands and has flat edges that we enjoy. Anyway, we will talk more about the Touch ID later, so stay with us. Number 2. Battery life. Unfortunately, there isn't much good news on the battery front, but Apple has made a few minor adjustments to speed up product recharge.
Oh, that's good, I guess.
We used the Mini for about 8 hours and 40 minutes in total, during which time we watched the occasional YouTube video, perused Twitter, and looked through websites. We didn't see the 10 hours that Apple claims throughout our testing. Number 1. Touch ID. Apple bringing back Touch ID is one of the most frequently requested features from iPhone users. Touch ID has been tested occasionally on new iPhone models, but it's most likely only going to be available on a few iPad models. Following in Apple's footsteps, the business added a fingerprint scanner to the power button of the iPad Mini 6 in the same year that it added Touch ID functionality to the side button of the iPad Air 4. This iPad Mini boasts the smallest Touch ID sensor that Apple has ever created, but it still functions flawlessly for unlocking your tablet, making purchases with Apple Pay, and more. It was a pleasure doing this iPad Mini review. To say the size is the greatest thing about it might be a bit of an understatement, but our necks loved being able to use it without hunching over the phone to react to text messages. Anyway, we recommend the iPad Air 5 for those of you who love big screens for gaming and drawing, or who are upgrading from a previous generation of iPad. To know more about this device, check out our video on new iPad Air 5 review, unboxing and accessories that will blow your mind.